Alright, so boom. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the 2021 NFL Week 13 recap show. I am your humble host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. And why did we not expect such fantastic finishes this week in the NFL? Now, some games were kind of but I must say, as it pertains to things coming down to the wire, magnificent finishes. First and foremost, we got to start with Thursday Night Football. Now, granted, there was a little mix-up what was transpiring with the predictions video because it was kind of held up as to why it did not post. I don't know why that was the case. It ended up posting 2 days after Thursday. In fact, I recorded it on Wednesday. I don't understand why it ain't posted until Saturday. We ain't talking about that right now. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. Dallas done went into New Orleans and took down the Saints 27-17. Are we surprised? Absolutely not. We expected Dallas to go out there and have that kind of performance. Did we expect Taysom Hill to throw 4 interceptions? Hell no. This man was throwing picks all over the place. Everybody in Dallas caught an interception. I could have swore I saw defenders from the 90s, 70s, 60s out there catching picks. It's crazy. Taysom Hill was out here talking about he wanted to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. We see why that was not the case. Now, I'm pretty sure he's going to get another opportunity because the Trevor Siemian experience has never gave them a W yet. Jameis clearly still got a torn ACL. Drew Brees coming out of retirement at this particular point is a little too late. So as far as I'm concerned, the Saints are going to have to ride the Taysom Hill train until the wheels fall off. And unfortunately, it's running on, cement right now. It's not looking too good. They're on cinder blocks. It's not a good look right now. As for the Cowboys, bounce back W. They took a couple L's over the course of the month of November, and they kicked off December with a W. Much needed W. All right. And I got to say, offensively, Dak still looked, Dak-like. On the ground, Tony Pollard looked great. But Zeke, I don't know what the deal is, because coming into this game, I thought they was going to give this brother more carries. That's not the case. So I'm not too concerned, or I should say, I'm not too sure what Dallas is going to be looking like moving forward. I know they're going to try to continue to keep the 1-2 punch going, but the way I was under the impression is Zeke gets more carries. Tony Pollard, he comes in and he gets his number of carries here and there. But now, as of late, the past couple of weeks, Tony Pollard has looked better than Zeke. In fact, if you split the games down the middle, I think there's only a difference of about a game or maybe 2 in which Zeke had a better performance than Tony Pollard. So moving forward, again, there's still a question mark right there regarding how Zeke, how he fares in this in this whole grand scheme of things. Because after Zeke got his money, it seemed like he is not the player that he used to be. I would not be surprised if this brother ends up getting moved. If not next year, then the following year. But nevertheless, good victory for the Dallas Cowboys. But this W was driven by their defense. To the Sunday games we go, Tampa and Atlanta. How was I not surprised that Atlanta would let me down? The first 2 quarters, I thought we had ourselves a game. And then Tom Brady and them took care of business. Because the second half, Atlanta wasn't even on the field. Moreover, Rob Gronkowski done found the end zone twice. This brother ain't scored twice since what, the Super Bowl? It's ridiculous. Atlanta, why must you let me down so? Chris Godwin went out there, I think it was like 14 catches, 149 yards. This brother was catching receptions all over the field. It was ridiculous. Mans could not be guarded. He looked like Sanctum in the Infinity War. Looked like Wong had to go leave along with the Atlanta defense when it came to trying to guard somebody. It's ridiculous, bruh. Man was eating them up, especially in a game in which Mike Evans did nothing. He didn't need to do anything. Antonio Brown, he's suspended. We'll talk about that at a different time. But my God, Tom Brady right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 17 or 18 franchises don't even have as many touchdowns as he has this year alone. It's ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. Tampa is starting to figure it out. And this is the same thing they did last year. They were building momentum going into the postseason. Things happened to fall into their favor, and they left with a Lombardi trophy. I'm not too sure if that will be the case this year. Myself, from where I sit, I truly do not predict them winning a playoff game. But granted, it's only entering 14. Things can change. They could really hit a stride and start dominating people. And now I'm going to have to sit here and say, hey, man, they're the front runner in the NFC, but we'll see when the time comes. All I know is I bet on Atlanta to win, and Atlanta let me down. This is the last time, like I said, said I'm ever going to bet on Matt Ryan or the Atlanta Falcons versus a Tom Brady-led team, this was the last opportunity they had. They done let me down. It's over. Take the L out of love it. Your season sooner going to be over, brother. Next up, the Cardinals and the Bears. Kyler Murray back, DeAndre Hopkins back, and they back to whipping ass. And that's exactly what happened in Soldier Field. The Bears ain't stand a chance. The Bears ain't stand a chance. Offensively, they look like garbage. Defensively, they look like garbage. Special teams look like garbage. The Bears are just a bad football team, and until they get away from Matt Nagy, I think this is going to continue. I'm pretty sure that brother going to lose his job at the end of this year. You about to lose your job. That's what they're going to be saying all over Chicago. It's going to be very bad. All right, I expect Arizona to take this momentum, being the first team to reach 10 wins this season, and carry that into their playoff push. Granted, they're most likely going to win the NFC West. The Rams are their only real threat, but with the difference of games, they would need the Cardinals to pretty much drop 3 of the last 4. And they would need to win damn near. They'd have to win out if they want to win the division. So the way it's looking right now, the Cardinals fixing to get that win that doggone division within the next 2 weeks. So the way they're playing football is very, very good. On top of that, James Conner, touchdown machine. And if Kyler Murray can go and, get the same sort of momentum as he was getting in early on in the season in the month of September, you better watch out. These Cardinals going to be hard to stop. Next up, Chargers and the Bengals. It looked like it was about to be necrophilia straight out the gate. 24-0. All of a sudden, 22 unanswered points by the Bengals, and then they never scored again. You talk about a confusing game. The Chargers was running away with it. The Bengals looked like they was about to pull off a comeback of a lifetime. And then the Chargers ran away with it. It was so weird. It was so weird. Now, granted, Joe Burrow did end up, hurting his hand. You saw the groans on his face on the sideline trying to warm up after dealing with the injury and everything. Jamar Chase bobbling footballs left and right. People are talking about, hey, man, that rookie of the year, it's gone. Mac Jones got that as a lock. This man, he was only good in the first half of the season. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Well, damn, he's still a rookie, man. He's still a rookie. Got to cut the brother some slack. Cincinnati's not a terrible football team. They may have shellacked Pittsburgh and then got shellacked by the Chargers this week, but that's football. It's any given Sunday. Now, for the Chargers, they needed this W. They need this W to continue to build that momentum going down towards the playoff push. And I'm confident in this football team. I really like their air attack on the ground. Austin Eckler, you had 2 bad fumbles. But they turned it around in the fourth quarter. I should say tail end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they was able to get it together, and they found the end zone a couple of times, and they walked away with the W. So kudos to the Chargers. Way to stick with it. They did not blow it. These are those 50-50 games that we talk about throughout the entire season. There are games in which your victory is in jeopardy because you cannot finish. We'll talk about Baltimore and their situation a little bit later down the line. But that's exactly what transpired, and luckily for the Chargers, they were able to go out there and finish. And what did you see? Arnold Schwarzenegger on the sideline, he wasn't there, but he was screaming in spirit, and now go Chargers, go, as they got themselves a W. Next up, Minnesota and Detroit. Detroit got their first victory of the season. I wanted to choose Detroit coming into this game. I said, you know what? I'm going to roll with the train. Now, everybody's saying that they don't want Detroit to win a doggone game for the rest of the year. And what happened? They went out there and won. And of course, it's Minnesota that found a way to lose this football game. Of course, it's Minnesota that found a way to lose this football game. This has been the story of Minnesota's season the entire year. I think this is now game number 9 that has gone all the way down to the wire within 5 points or a full score of being 7. It's ridiculous. It really is. You start out the game, and granted, you lost Adam Thielen early. That's brutal. You don't got Dalvin Cook this game. That's brutal. But still, they are the Detroit Lions. Now, it's any given Sunday, but you are Minnesota trying to make a playoff push. You desperately need to go and win out. And what happens? You play down to the competition. You start out slow. Detroit is up 20-6. You come all the way back, and then your defense forgets how to guard. Prevent defense prevents you from winning. The defensive backs forgot how to cover, and Detroit went all the way down the field. And then, last play of the game, Jared Goff shows he's not a liability and showcases his first W without Sean McVay. This man went down the field, threw a strike to his man right in front of Minnesota's defenders, and walked away with a W. I am so happy for Detroit. City of Detroit was celebrating like they just won a Super Bowl. I think they might have thrown a parade. I cannot confirm those denies and sentiment. But they got a huge win this past Sunday. They dedicated it to the high school. I got, man, round of applause for the Lions, man. First victory of the round of applause for the Lions, man. You guys not only deserve it, but you earned it, all right? Because if you take a look at their season, they had a ton of tough losses. In fact, the Lions can make a case. You flip a coin on some of those games, you know, those some of that they happen to lose, they can mess around and be a 6-win football team right now. There's a lot of teams that walked away with them 50-50 games, and it worked in their favor. For the Lions, it didn't work in their favor this year. But I got to give kudos to them. They was able to finish, and Jared Goff got a come-from-behind victory, regardless of the fact that they led the vast majority of the game. And Jared Goff nearly gave the football away on 2 different occasions, interception and a fumble. Brother nearly gave the game away, and somehow the Vikings still find a way to lose. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I can't, bro. Good victory for Detroit. Indianapolis and Houston. All kinds of necrophilia. There ain't nothing that got to be said about this. The damn Texans got destroyed 31-0. 31-0. Jonathan Taylor ran all over the team. Carson Wentz, mistake-free football. That Colts defense shellacked the doggone Texans all day. You talk about a team that they look like they got off the bus. I'm ashamed there were Texans fans in NRG Stadium watching the product of the football team they just so happened to support. It was bad. It was really bad. And for the Colts, this was a victory they needed because last week they choked it. This week they was able to finish. Kudos to the Colts. Giants and Miami. First off, Miami, since starting 1-7, they're now 6-7. They've won 5 straight games. They're starting to figure it out. Playoffs may or may not be in the question. It's going to have to be a wild card, obviously, but they're going to have to continue to keep this momentum going towards the postseason and really get hot. Because last year they ended up coming up a game short of qualifying, but maybe this year if they continue to move like this, who knows? Brian Flores can mess around and try to make a push for Coach of the Year. It's still Belichick, but he'll try to make a push for Coach of the Year if they mess around and get a playoff berth. But for the Giants, there's a bad football team. I feel bad for that defense because coming into this year, we thought that defense was going to be way better than they are this year. And offensively, I ain't going to lie to you. It's time for Saquon Barkley. Let that brother free. Let that brother free. Now, granted, you was playing with Glennon, but still, let Saquon Barkley free. Brother hasn't had a 100-yard game since 2019. Now, granted, he only played 2 last year. He's missed, I believe, 4 games thus far this year. But he has never cracked 100 this season at all. Granted, the offensive line ain't that great or whatever, but goddamn, the Giants are bad. The Giants are bad. Miami is starting to get it together. Xavier Howard, brother's a ball hawk. I'm curious to see how Miami finishes this season down the stretch, man. I'm very curious to see. They are starting to get hot. They are starting to get hot. But 7 losses. Can they turn that around? Washington is. And let's talk about Washington against Las Vegas. My God, the Raiders find ways to lose. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. First and foremost, the entire first half, ineptitude on offense, piss poor defense, but still in situations where nobody was putting up points. You had an opening drive from Washington, and then after that, they did nothing in the half. Las Vegas only had a field goal. But in the second half, look at what Las Vegas was looking like, right? You go and you're 3 and out. Then after, you get yourself a field goal. You score a touchdown. You get a field goal. And then that final drive, your defense, before your offense comes with your defense could not stop Washington. Washington in the second half, you punted, you scored a touchdown, you threw an interception that gave Las Vegas the opportunity to take the lead, and then on an 8-play, 44-yard drive, they go down the field, they get themselves in field goal range, they done kicked it through the uprights, and it's good. The Vegas Raiders find ways to lose football games. The first half of the season, I said this coming into the year, I don't care about what the first half of the season looked like for the Raiders. I need to see what the second half looked like. They could have started 8-0, 9-0. We would have still been in this position because the identity of the Las Vegas Raiders, the identity of the Oakland Raiders, the identity of the formerly known Gruden Grinders are chokers in the second half of the season. You might as well turn them into some sort of, feminine apparel. Put them around your neck. Those brothers are straight up chokers every single week. They now 6-6, bro. They now 6-6. Man, I don't have the words to describe how I feel about the doggone Raiders, man. Let me down. Philly and New York. I picked New York to win. Or I feel like I picked Philly to win. I can't remember. But whatever the case was, let me tell you something right now. They gave the football to Miles Sanders. He ran for 120 yards. I'm ecstatic about that. The play calling seemed to be so much better. Maybe because it was Gardner Minshew and it wasn't, Jalen Hurts that was out there. Defensively in the second half, the Jets got absolutely shut down. So kudos to Philly. The first half looked like it was fixing to be a shootout. It was score after 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 score. But you want to know what the difference was? The Jets scored some of the time. Philly scored all of the time. They scored on every possession with the exception of the final drive. They scored every possession with the exception of the final drive. If you're the Jets, you can't win football games if you can't stop nobody. Moreover, your offense forgot how to play offense in the second half. They did a whole lot of nothing. It was terrible. But for Philly, this is what we needed to see. We want to see the football in Miles Sanders' hands. Give him the damn ball, give him enough carries, and he will lead you to the promised land. It's not just on the shoulders of Gardner Minshew walking out there with the 70s porn star mustache, losing his mind, celebrating his first victory as a Philadelphia Eagle, as a starter with his father, which was a very emotional moment. But damn it, it's Miles Sanders in the backfield who gives you that safety blanket. I want to see the ball in Miles Sanders' hands early. I want to see the ball in Miles Sanders' hands often. And I want to see the ball in Miles Sanders' hands at all times. That's all I got to say about that. For Philly, congratulations. You play like this, I will not continue to pick against you. Only reason why I don't want to see Philly flourish is because they refuse to give the football to Miles Sanders. And damn it, they finally done did it. And I'm happy about that. Next up, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, that being the Rams, necrophilia. They got straight up fucked. I don't know why they made the trip. They got fucked. Nobody was able to guard Cooper Kupp. Odell Beckham was able to go and find the end zone. The Rams defense was feasting left and right. We already knew this was going to probably be a slaughterhouse. We didn't see, Jacksonville do anything. All right. I think Trevor Lawrence has officially lost more games this season than he has in his entire football career, dating back to Pop Warner, high school and college combined. That brother is going through it right now. Somebody check on him, see how he's feeling mentally. I know he is going through it right now. But doggone it, the Rams needed a victory like that. If I'm not mistaken, they had lost 3 consecutive games. So they needed something like this to bounce back. They got to get that defense to go out there and perform. So I'm hoping down the line it can perform at a higher, pace rather than what it was that they were doing. Because we got high expectations for this team. I have them as one of the 2 teams I believe will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And damn it, you need to play like that. And you did this week. But it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Granted, it's any given Sunday. They're all professionals. But we know where the Jaguars stand as an organization. Do this to different sort of teams. Put on this kind of performance. And maybe the world will have belief in you like they expected the world to have belief in you when we look at your roster on paper. But good victory for the doggone Rams. Seattle and San Francisco. San Francisco didn't know how to play football in the second half. They didn't know how to play football in the second half. Let me take a look at they whole drives in the second half, all right? Because the first half ended. Seattle was leading 23-21. This is what the second half looked like for Seattle. They fumbled on the opening kickoff. They had a safety where they had 2 for their mistakes because they forgot that you can't shoot bullets with your gun on safety. Jimmy G goes out there and throws an interception. You get a 3 and out. You get a 4 and out. And then you drive all the way down the field after your defense forces a fumble when Seattle was trying to put the nail in the coffin. You go all the way down the field and the ball gets batted at the line. This is the epitome of the San Francisco 49ers season. It's the epitome of the San Francisco 49ers season. You can't find ways to finish games. For the Seattle Seahawks, granted, this is all about pride at this point. It's all about pride. This divisional game, so you already know these teams know each other, so you can't expect it to just be a blowout because one team is struggling or whatever. Whenever you see divisional games, you know it's fixing to be close. And Pete Carroll's teams have owned the San Francisco 49ers. His Seattle Seahawks have owned the San Francisco 49ers as it pertains to the head-to-head. And he did it again. They came from behind and walked away with a W. Well, not really from behind. I mean, damn it, Travis Homer had what? It was a 73-yard fake punt. Took it all the way to the house, and then San Francisco started getting rolling. They scored. It was up 14-7, and then it was a little bit back and forth. I believe the largest that the lead had ballooned up to was like 9. I think it was like 23-14 or some shit like that. I can't remember. But whatever the deal was, Gotta give the kudos to the Seattle Seahawks for finishing this game. This was a game that San Francisco needed. This was a game they needed. If they were sitting at 7-5, they really make things interesting in that NFC West. But losing this game, especially in that divisional game, I'm curious what things are going to look like moving forward, man. I'm curious what things are going to look like moving forward because they really needed this game. And it's unfortunate that they did not get it. Next up, we're going to go Sunday night because I want to talk about Pittsburgh and Baltimore last. Sunday night, Kansas City and Denver. I'll just say this. Nothing has to be said about Kansas City's offense because they're continuing to struggle. I'll give huge kudos to Denver's defense because had it not been for the special teams blunder, they probably would have only squandered 13 points. Maybe 16. 13 some points. 16. They only gave up one touchdown. Their defense only gave up one touchdown on an actual drive. I can't just discount, what happened after the fumble. But still, Denver's offense, their ineptitude really cost them this game because they drove down into Kansas City territory, I believe, 5 times. They went 20 plays, 88 yards, 11 plus minutes, turnover on downs. They had converted 2 fourth down conversions, and then they failed on the final one. 20 play, 88-yard drive inside the 10, turnover on downs, right? Then they had gone down the field, interception. Then they had the pick six. They finally got themselves a touchdown, and then ultimately at the end of the game, turnover on downs. There was too many times they would put together what looked like a promising drive, and they would fail. The offense's ineptitude to score is what cost them this game because they held Kansas City to 13 points into the fourth quarter. They held them to 13 points going into the fourth quarter. Not a lot of defenses can say that. This is the kind of problem that you've been running into as it pertains to Teddy Bridgewater. Is he a guy who can win you football games or lose you football games? He's not going to be that dude who's going to throw you into victory. But he's not going to cost you the game either. And my God, Teddy can't stop a soul as it pertains to after he throws an interception. If Teddy's in the vicinity of trying to make a tackle and you're having to be a returner after catching an interception, you might as well start celebrating because you will score a touchdown. How the hell did Teddy Bridgewater not tackle Daniel Sorensen? I don't understand. A couple weeks ago, he stepped out the way. But this week, he should have tackled Daniel Sorensen. He threw his body at him, but it's like Sorensen didn't even feel it. He didn't even put an arm up to try to stiff arm him. It's like it's like bumper cars. He got touched and went a little bit forward. The momentum actually carried him running towards the end zone. He was like 30 yards away. But nevertheless, still, good victory for the Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken, that's 5 straight. They are peaking at the right time. In fact, they did this a couple years back when they messed around and they won Super Bowl 54. So huge W for them. Then, next up, Buffalo and New England. The weather will definitely be something that has to be talked about as it pertains to this game. Because if it was clear skies and shining outside, I do not think we would have saw the same game. Now, granted, the outcome could have possibly been the same because both teams had to deal with the weather. But I'd be remiss if I did not point out Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times. He only threw the ball 3 times. Josh Allen had a shot to the end zone to Stephon Diggs, and the wind changed the trajectory of the ball, but at the same time, Diggs had some issues finding the football, so we must acknowledge that as well. Hit him right here, incomplete. There was a ton of different times, I believe 3 different times in which Josh Allen looked like he had himself a touchdown, and either the wind took it or the receiver messed around and dropped the ball. But that's football. That is football, and there's no reason why you should sit over here, man, excuse me. No. Oh, no. Referees were actually on the side of the Buffalo Bills in this game with a terrible, unnecessary roughness call when Josh Allen was going down the field on I believe he was running down the right hash mark or whatever the case was, and there was a terrible call on the Patriots. It should have never been thrown. But still, despite that, the Patriots still won with Mac Jones only throwing the football 3 times. Kudos to the Patriots defense. Moreover, kudos to their ground game for getting the job done. They ran for, I believe it was over 100 plus yards on the ground in the first half. Now, granted, you had a 64-yard touchdown, but still. You can't tell me if you're a Buffalo defense, you know the Patriots are only running the football, you still can't stop it? You still couldn't stop it? Come on, dog. Now, you got to bounce back. It's divisional games. And moreover, what happened now? The Patriots sole possession of first place in the AFC, sole possession of first place in the AFC East. I told you guys don't sleep on Belichick. I told you don't sleep on Belichick. And he went out there, he coached his guys up. But don't get it twisted. The Bills are still a very good football team. Just because they've been losing as of late doesn't change the fact that they are still a very good football team. So we'll see how they bounce back when they see the Patriots down the line once again. But still, round of applause for the Patriots. Mac Jones is leading all rookie quarterbacks in every single statistic. He's most likely at this particular point, I believe, he's now a lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Micah Parsons has Defensive Rookie of the Year locked up as well, might I add. But still, huge win for the Patriots. 7 in a row. And last but not least, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. My God, I am so happy. I am so happy. I picked the Baltimore Ravens to win this doggone game, and damn it, the Steelers having to come through, and they left with a doggone victory. I am so ecstatic about them winning this doggone game, man. I'm so happy. I am so happy. That was a classic Baltimore and Steelers game right there. That's smash mouth football. That's defensive football. That's offense struggling kind of football. And damn it, you need somebody to lead a comeback drive, and Big Ben Roethlisberger done did it. If I'm not mistaken, he has the most comeback drives against a single opponent in NFL history, that being against the Ravens. I think he's got like 8 or 9. It might be 10 or 11. I can't remember what the number is, but my God, what a football game. First and foremost, Wormley, TJ Watt. Talk about a game, bruh. I think they combined for 5 sacks, 6 sacks. Wormley had 2.5. TJ had 3.5, so that's 6. My God, bruh. You talk about a performance. Talk about a performance. And the Ravens were still able to find their, that 99-yard drive that they had. Outside of that, and that final drive that they had, it wasn't much that was going on. Lamar was struggling. In fact, this year, Lamar has been struggling. And despite that, the Ravens are still sitting at 8-4. Despite him struggling, they sitting at 8-4. So you still got to give your kudos to the Ravens. But like I had mentioned earlier, as it pertained to the Vikings, 50-50 games. This was a 50-50 game. Why? Because the Ravens went down the field. They scored the touchdown that would have been the game-tying touchdown. But John Harbaugh understanding, Pittsburgh is kind of hot right now. Let me just end this game right here. Why give our fate up to a coin flip? Let's win this game right here. And what happened? Went for 2, and TJ Watt just had a little bit about a time to make just a little bit of a difference on Lamar throwing that football just out of the reach of Mark Andrews. He still got a hand on it. Just out of the reach, lands incomplete, and then Pittsburgh mess around and win the football game. But let me tell you something. This is one of those 50-50 games, man. It's one of those 50-50 games. Could have literally went either way. You got to give Baltimore credit for how they finished that football game. Pittsburgh, similar to what transpired in the game against the Chargers. You came all the way back, you took the lead, and then you fell asleep on the last drive. Same thing happened here. 3rd down, you can't get yourself off the field. In fact, the entire game, it felt like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 29. Pittsburgh giving up conversions. So I got to give kudos over to the Ravens offense finding ways to convert on 3rd down. But when it came down to the final play, it just wasn't enough. And kudos to Pittsburgh walking away with the W. Now making things very interesting over here down the stretch. They're going to need to keep this kind of performance if they want to mess around and try to make a playoff push. But still, as we both know, they're not as good as their record says they are. But we will see how things close out, man. It's December now. December football is upon us. Expect every single week to have great football games. And this whole week, I'm telling you right now, a lot of people thought, man, this week was kind of whack, man. I'm telling you right now, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Go back and watch a couple of these games back. Wasn't too bad. Was not too bad. But congratulations to the winners and unfortunate L's for the losers. But that has been my take on what transpired in this week's 2021 NFL Week 13 post-game reaction show. I am your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. And P.S. I am returning back to Hot Mic, returning back to YouTube live streaming this Thursday when Pittsburgh takes on the Minnesota Vikings. So I hope to see you there. And on top of that, I'm going to have a special announcement that you guys will really enjoy. But we'll talk about that when we get there. To the Shadow Realm I go.